So thank you everybody for joining and thanks for being here for this month's patent and trademark community within WITI. We do this the second Monday of every month at 12 p.m. Pacific. That will continue for 2023. We have exciting things planned both for today as well as for future events. There's a new initiative. Many of you were on previous calls where you saw our friends at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office participate, and they have a few weeks that they'll be taking both to have people from the office speak. They do have a new women's entrepreneurship initiative that we're going to partner with them on. And yeah, several things planned, as well as funding sources for women-owned businesses. Oh, and Adrian, I'm sorry, I missed you to intro yourself. I'm going to pause the. So this week, we're thrilled to have Nazanin. How pronounce your last name, huh? Because I never use your last name.
Yeah, actually, it's so hard to pronounce it, both my name and surname. Even people in Turkey cannot pronounce it. My name is Nazinin. You pronounce it well. And my last name is Güre.
Güre, got it. Mm-hmm. So Nazanin, I know you had mentioned, I was excited to hear that on the first try, your patent got accepted. And I know you live outside the US in Turkey and are part of our leadership team for our climate change community. But I'd love for you to share, a little bit about your experience, what your patent was in. Yeah, and just please.
Yeah, I prepared a presentation. So I will try to introduce my personal patent journey. Actually, I later informed about the trees methodology. The founder of the trees, according to the MIT, analyzed 40,000 patents at the time, and he generalized 5 basic subgroups among them, and these groups are related to the level of the invention. The top group is also known as breakthrough group, is like invention of laser, invention of the first time breakthrough inventions, and they are the pioneer ones. And the very interesting part of this group is that so far no one knows how those pioneers invented them at that time as the first. So the next one cannot be predicted with currently known methodologies. However, for the rest of those groups, trees can lead the desired results in terms of invention levels. One of them, following breakthrough inventions, is the paradox solving inventions. And for instance, air conditioners are one example. When we want them to cool down the weather, they can cool down. And paradoxically, if we want them to heat up the room temperature, they can heat it up. So they can both work hot and cold. And this is paradox solving invention. One of my inventions in patent lies in this group. And I didn't know trees at that time. But with trees, this is possible as well. And the other groups are kind of generated from each other, like an evolution among them. And for the last categories is kind of minor differences, either for functional or design means. For instance, just for attach design, there are thousands of patents in USA. And the first time that I met with patent is when I was part-time student researcher in civil engineering, and head of department made such a sentence of his invention of earthquake insurance pack. What it does is that during earthquake, it damps the vibration, and instead of the building collapse, it consumes the whole shock, and instead of the building, it kind of collapse. So it is a shock absorbent additive wall. And what he says about it is that an invention that is found at the end of 7 years of study. And at that time, I thought, God knows when, how many years after I will come up with my first patent when I was a student. And on the third year of my piezoelectric studies, which is in line with my Master of Science thesis, in MIDE, one of the biggest companies in USA in terms of piezoelectric energy harvester producers, they issued my thesis on their website, and they are really good at their subject, so they really understand well about my thesis, the most striking part of my thesis, and they really issued my thesis well. And then they shared their feedback that in their blog, my thesis is the only thesis, but it is the most downloaded document among their blog. And then I improved my energy harvesting study on piezoelectric into reverse mode of piezoelectrics. That is, instead of sensor, more like an actuator. And I aim to stabilize Parkinson patient's finger vibration following after this study. This is my Science Citation Index journal study and single name when I was a Master of Science student. And in TED Project Bazaar, I was rewarded among all categories. And this is the device that I named as Piezo Ring. I suppose I have it, maybe I can show it later on. And this aims to stop the vibration of initial Parkinson patients' finger movements, unwanted finger vibration, not the intended movements. So this is the part that it solves the paradox without interfering in wanted movements, how to stop the vibration of unwanted, shake. So this is the first time that I actually applied patent, and this is actually the 5th year that I started studying piezoelectrics. So included subject research, it took 6 years of mine. In terms of focused piezoelectric studies, it is like 4.5 years. Invention-based focused research lasted long 2.5 years. And the whole year, I just wrote the patent of it in the guidance of patent expert. And then my second invention, which is the subject of today, this has been accepted without any correction request and labeled as patent just a month ago. And it started in March 2020. At first, I presented it in Coronaton, Turkey, and I was selected as the finalist. And just when I checked the list, I saw that I was one later on the finals list, that is the first 30, and I was announced as 31. When I said it, then they invited me the first 60, and they really congratulate me and like the smart mask invention. Then I switched into European versus virus pan-European hackathon as well. And my female mentors shared organization team is super proud of you message, which really honored me. And these are the recordings that as a proof of the document for EU versus virus hackathon. I tried to present my invention in all aspects in less than 5 minutes and so. And this is after 1 year of writing, the first application of the patent. And it almost, together with writing, it almost took a year for patent application. But what I'm gonna show you is a couple different documents. For instance, let me show you the official documents. This is the official result of research and investigation. I am the sole inventor, but for licensing, yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, Nazanin. I think you're still showing just the PowerPoint
Okay,
slide.
thank you
but thanks
so
for that.
much.
No problem.
Let's see. Can you see PDF version?
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much. These are the names of the license holders, but I'm the sole inventor and the only name. Here they evaluate in terms of innovation and level of invention and how applicable it is for the industries. For all, it takes yes, and it occupies for each and single of my claims without any exception. And according to the research report, these 3 patents, all Chinese patents, are the closest one to my invention. Here, in this paragraph, they explain my first claim, official claim, and here, the necessary explanation section, they introduced closest document to mine, and why it is not occupying or close enough for my invention. And also they conclude here as the innovation pioneer part. It says either one of those documents or combining any of them is not enough to define my invention. And also they refer to the patent law. This is the for all my claims. According to this patent law, they say this is new and innovative. My invention is new and innovative. And here, this is the level of invention. And for this part, they say even the experts of these subjects comes and analyze all the invented or published documents and inventions together with all the patents ever submitted. They cannot reach to my invention clearly and easily. And again, referring to this patent law this time, my invention is valid in terms of invention level. And for the last one, again, they refer to the patent law that it is applicable and it can be produced. So there is one other thing about it, because the date that I first publish is on March 2020. And the date here, according to the closest document, which is D1 here, this is 5 months later than I am. And I also applied to patent. Actually, at first I wasn't sure about applying to it because I want everybody to be able to access. And I later see that people just copying my YouTube announced how it works invention and win rewards about it. This is not the actual one, just a conceptual, design. And it only has temperature sensor and gas sensor. However, it claims that it can detect germs and warm the users, which is technically not possible just upon gas sensors and temperature sensors. And he's a designer, and he wins an award. That's why I wanted to apply patents together with those documents and together with the date of my explaining video here. And together with the patents, I wanted to show that the initial one can be validated. There is one more thing that I want to show actually. It is, if you are interested in the drawing part, maybe I can explain my invention upon them. That would be easier, probably. So this is the main subject of my invention. Actually, I didn't name the smart mask as smart mask, but I named it as cartridge system, because this cartridge and germ detecting system can be applicable to all textile and air filtration or air channels or air conditioning systems, and so on and so forth. And here I just share all the possible things. This cartridge sensory system has the digital screen that can be personalized according to different coronavirus levels, because maybe those who has lack of immunity has lower alarm grade, because for instance, when we wear a mask, as the moisture content increases and the virus load in the environment increases, actually the mask itself can be germ producing medium. As a result, I wanted to detect total germ microorganisms actually, and even SARS can be differentiated upon them. And I want the smart mask to alarm to change the mask. This can also be applicable during operations of the doctors, maybe in terms of satisfying hygiene conditions, sterilized hygiene conditions. And this textile is conductive textile that can measure charge differences. In environmental engineering, one of my bachelor is in environmental engineering. What we know is that clays, bacteria, and virus spikes has negative charges. So I research coronavirus in specific, and most of its mutations, protein spikes, has negative charges, and they can be measurable in very micro level. And as the virus loading increases, this can reach a detectable level. So some designs that with the cartridge, or it can be on instead of on the face, maybe it is just following the ear lobe, like this, or maybe it is for the whole face covering mask, and different designs, maybe it is on the ear instead of that. This is for hair holding crown and all conductive, and it's just showing other place for the cartridge. Same for the whole covering mask. This is very well known for hearing disabled people, because due to mask they had the problem of not reading the mouth. As a result, this too became popular, so I added this option as well. And instead of just translating what is being said, it can just implies the status of the mask, or personalized. It can also be personalized. So in some different designs here, I also implement this textile for the gloves. And this is the static measurement part. For instance, I aim to create a network of already readily moving users, and also wanted to collect maybe air pollution, allergenic particles, and microorganisms in the air by implementation of static measurement units. So this is how they kind of share their information regarding the content of virus loading or air pollutants or allergenic compounds for asthma patients. And here I represent how to encrypt personalized information in blockchain to ensure that users' privacy can be protected. And then here it shows neural network layers and analyzing the collected data in neural network and gaining result of maybe the first person who emitted the coronavirus. And this is called first patient detection, or maybe the locations that it is about to spread, or the critical locations. But to ensure the privacy of the users, blockchain is there. And this is other implementation in air canals. And here, inside this air filtration, presented invention is also on top of the air filter. And this is also designed to be placed in air channels for air conditions. And also other hospital healthcare professionals' clothes, and many more like this. This is also known as IMOFCON, that is valid collecting bacteria content into one single location. So the virus load per millimeter increases. This is, this is a well-known IMOFCON, is a well-known methodology in environmental engineering. So I also implemented it here as a mask. Maybe instead of covering the whole part with that precious textile, collecting them on tip and just placing a little bit of textile there to measure more sensitively and to make it the cost less than expected.
Amazing. Sorry, can I ask you, so would is all this incorporated in the patent? Or I guess the patents are the underlying technology that allows you to use all these, create these applications from it, right?
Yeah, you are right. Actually, this can be divided. Patent institutes divide your patent if it has more patents than application, but sharing the same fundamental functions. Actually, if they were good at it, they should have been divided for each design.
Got it. And then, so when you creating a patent, and maybe one of the attorneys on the call could answer this, like if she's doing that in Turkey, Michelle, like, is that covered under the US patent and trademark, right? So then because she got it in Turkey though, does that give it any weight to just auto submit it in the US? Or I'd love to hear it. David Hardy was here. He's from Canada. So even from like Canada, is that closer? Or?
I don't think anything is an auto submit, David, but you can use the same. I mean, she owns the patent and would just have to file in the States, and more a first to file. So as long as the research is done, she can certainly just file same paperwork.
Got it.
There is one condition of 12 months limitations, right, dear Michelle?
I'd have to look that up at the patent office.
There is one limitation. Since I presented it openly in March 2020, I have 20 months to submit my patent. Doesn't matter the location. Normally, if you do not announce any public, sharing anything at all, the first date that you apply anywhere on the world is the starting date for the applicant to apply any other part of the world or for the world patent as well, either EU, either US. We only have 12 months limitations. And after that 12 months, I lose my chance to apply a patent. So when it says that my invention is legally verified, that belongs to me. But for its production, I own the license only in Turkey. For its production, anyone aside Turkey can produce, can make profit, and I cannot claim anything at all.
Interesting.
Which is perfectly fine by me, by the way. because us academicians just want to label that this is the invention and this is the proof document, because we always speak with the proof documents. And having the patent in academic means is enough for us, because after then we switch to other researches, other research fields, and for those who are good at that subject specifically in market, is better, producing them so that it can be helpful to people. But of course, if I were a company that is expert in this subject, I would, instead of just applying to Turkey, I would apply to world patent, whichever the places that I kind of doubt that can produce this. For instance, those 3 closest patents, all from China. For instance, instead of maybe like USA, the first thing to do is to take the Chinese patent, because China is very good at, generating them. So, and then some people say for electronic stake, Vietnam patent, Thai patent, Taiwan patent, because they are very good at producing those chips and sorts. But for more mass production and mass consumers in USA, then they advise take USA patents. Or for academic means, any patent in any place of the world is acceptable and very precious. But whether it is commercial patent or for academician and academic perspective, world patent is the highest level, and it is ranked the most, because it means not only one single country's patent institute, to 50, I suppose, 50 countries patent institute independently from each other approved it. My latest invention about awareness of addicted people's addictions is selected for world patent application, as well as US patent and EU patent. So it's under investigation, and I would love to share the results. I would love to have your feedback and questions if you want to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Nazanin. Does anybody have any questions? Does somebody want to order one of those outfits? We'd love to get some design. And here's a designer. Maybe Anna, you could build something around that. Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, Nazanin, congratulations. It's wow, so amazing. So I think this goes along with what Dave was asking. Like, you said it can be applied for any kind of textiles. Of course, yeah, I make clothes, so I'm thinking, wow, the possibilities. And that you showed the medical garments, and then you showed the, in the filtration. Like, is it better to have all of these ways of, like, applications for it for when you're doing a patent? Like, the more applications you can show, the better? Or was that just what you wanted to show? So does my question make sense?
Incredibly good question, because actually the trend is that there's 2 options. One, the inventor can apply many patents for each of them. But in that case, if they have the same methodology, patent office find the similarity of the same inventors multiple patents and say, actually, they have the same methodology. So none of them is accepted. They eliminate all of them. As a result, inventors, if they have the same methodology, they share each patent underneath. Actually, each of them deserves to be different patents. But the rule kind of is like patent office has to decide it, not the inventor. Not the inventor has to say this is a different patent than this. Let it, the patent office to decide it. Actually, US patent office is the greatest, to be honest. And when you dig in the patents, you see the same patent number, but divided A, B, and so on and so forth. And I have even seen like 100 divided sub-patents from one single application in US patents. So each different function and design deserves to a new patent with the same main patent sharing the same methodology. However, as I said, Turkish Patent Institute, even I'm glad that they were managed to distinguish my patent from other applicants. Even I said this is very good, but actually the professional patent offices definitely divide the patent with the same applicable patent, and for each divided patent, they give the same patent number, but with A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4 additionally.
Thank you.
It was a very good question.
Thank you.
Oh, one other answer is that the reason why we do is more like the applicant want to protect as many designs as possible, as many functions as possible, because patents can be reproduced easily but with minor changes and can be, represented as new in market. To prevent that, the inventor wants to, share all possibilities according to their study, so that they can occupy the maximum level of intellectual property. Otherwise, it can be easily modified and generated as a new one. That's also the main purpose. And the second main purpose for each of them to be sub-patents for the main application. Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
another question.
Go ahead, Anna, go for it.
So you said you applied for an academic patent versus a commercial patent?
No, the patent is the same, but academic perspective is not making profit upon it. Like commercial perspective is to be the only one that is producing it in the market. That's why they want to have the patent, because if they have the patent, only the one who the license is sold can produce. Or for instance, for commercial ones, they can have the patent, they may not produce, but they allow its production to many companies, and they either make profit from each sale, or they make profit about selling the license, like 10% to one company, 10% to other, some paid more, 50% to other company, like that. So they make profit about selling the license, or they too have right to sale, or they profit about from each single sale. There are many different things. So in market, the strategy is about earning money or being the only one who is producing it. But in academic purpose, the same patent we do, the same patent procedure we've been through, but the result document is enough for us. That's
okay. Okay, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for your beautiful questions.
Thank you, Anna, and welcome those who recently joined. Nazanin just completed, was awarded her patent for her mask that's, protects against COVID and other viruses.
Yeah.
In Turkey. So we're just discussing how that applies internationally.
Yeah.
Have you applied for your patent, Chris, on what you're building?
I'm writing on it. I had my first conversations with the lawyers, And so it's writing and designing right now, but we're clear that it's patentable.
Awesome.
It's a good thing.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Okay, good. And I was sharing, we will have people from the USPTO back in February and for the February and March, so they'll be here if you need any support with that. Excellent. And share with everybody, Chris, what you're doing and for those that haven't met you yet, please.
Yeah, so you might have noticed there's a movement to replace meat with meat equivalents, like the Impossible Burger and so on. The procedure that's probably most promising is to grow fungus or microalgae or bacteria because they grow exponentially. And so in the end, they will be cheaper than doing plant-based burgers. To do that, you need bioreactors in which you grow these things. And we need about 1,000 times as much bioreactors as there are in the world today. And they're very expensive, they're very scientifically oriented, not so much production oriented. So I've developed a whole different concept how to build bioreactors. Overall, I think it's about a $300 billion business in the next 15 years. And I think this will just change things. It's similar to how supercomputers were once built in the old times of the Cray with a big central processing unit, and it got more and more complicated and hotter, and you had to cool it with nitrogen. And then somebody said, why don't we just take 1,000 cheap PCs and put them together and create grid computing? And from that moment on, all the supercomputers were built as grid computers. So what I'm developing is basically the same thing, a grid bioreactor. And I think it will just change the way that bioreactors are built.
That's exciting. Would you be, would like places like Air Protein and Fine Foods be able to use your plants to manufacture what they have also? Or
Exactly. So I've looked, how do I enter this business? And at first I was thinking, well, I should have a lab and find fungi and bacteria, just like the other 150 companies, and develop products and try to get that into the market. But then I realized that there's lots of people who do that. And the big gap is production capacity. It's just not there, and you can't go out and rent space. And so I said, production, that's where it is. And then one thing led to the other, to rethinking the entire bioreactor thing. I don't have any education in that space, which is good, because people who have education have a hard time following me. So I
Right.
can have crazy ideas and just go with it as if I was a 17-year-old.
I love it. I do have some connections at Impossible Foods, by the way. I don't know if we talked about that.
Oh,
And I don't know if that would be a client, right? That could potentially be a client, right? Because I guess with those,
not directly, but it would be so nice to meet the founder.
Yeah.
Because he's such a wonderful man, and his history is just so inspiring.
okay. Yeah, I have a friend that recently went there from one of the life sciences companies and see how we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks for sharing. Michelle, would you like to share where you're coming in from and what you do? Michelle Lauber? Yep. I guess not. Charles, welcome. Are you guys seeing Charles like in the ag tech space? I don't know if you're here, Charles. You might have stepped away, or there we
No,
go.
Charles,
I'm here.
Charles is
So
with ag
what's
tools.
that? What's that, Martha?
that Charles is with Actools. I told him that he better start coming to the patent and trademark seminars that you guys are doing, but because they're great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the insight and perspective.
Thank you. Now, with stuff like what Chris is talking about, or with this artificial meat, like would that fall into ag tech? I guess, right? The meat.
Yeah, I think so. Very
Yeah.
much so.
It's a whole new category.
We did apply already for our patent, supply chain intelligence already
Oh, wow.
through that
That's
process.
nice.
And Charlie's the one who's been leading the pact on that.
Yes, we
Wow.
applied it's been about 11 months for the foundational patent. And we've gotten some response, but we're waiting for a larger response so that we can develop the process. We've also applied for the patent cooperation treaty, which, as we understand it, gives us at least initial coverage in almost 110 countries for a period of time. It's for 12 months before we decide exactly which countries we're going to delve further into. So always pleased to be able to learn more.
Totally. So you did 11. So was that the provisional that you did 11 months ago? And then by next month, you have to do the non-provisional, or are you already there?
No, we did not. It's a non-provisional. It is the
okay.
definitive patent applications, which we've done. And
Exciting.
then we're looking to expand on that. We're looking at 2 other technologies we developed, which we will be applying for provisional for that 1 year protection.
Right. Okay,
So-
nice.
Maybe Chris
Congratulations.
can try provisional patent application because it would save time of 12 months at least.
Yes,
Well-
you're right. Time does fly, but yes, that's the part of the reason for applying, from my understanding, for the provisional is for us to be able to, we do the initial provisional, it protects us. We don't have to break out the time that will do to do the complete download of information and data at this stage. And then in 11 months time, really, we will do the full blockage of time to be able to provide all the information to the patent attorney so that we'll go and apply for the definitive patent.
And
Yeah.
the advantage is that it keeps secret for a longer time. Because once the patent is published, it's out there and attacked with.
Right. Excellent. Anybody else like to share or questions or?
Actually, dear Mohammed, I suppose, who was interested in electronics, I guess. Do I remember? Dear Mohammed? He was, as much as I recognize from self-introduction, he wished to be informed for electronics patent application, but I don't know if he's up there.
I'm not sure. Well, I know Adrian works for a power company. So Adrian, have you heard of this dirty energy?
No, I'm not sure what that is.
Well, what I was told was, I guess it's electricity. So when it goes from the grid to the house, and you're paying per kilowatt, like up to 15% can be lost. And so what these people had was a device that could then reduce the loss of energy, or what they call dirty energy, because some of it's just being lost along the way, to like maybe getting it down to like single digits, or even, I think they did some testing in Sweden. I think they could reduce it 4% loss instead of 15%, which is huge with what's going on with Europe and the war and everything else. Yes, I just wasn't sure if you'd heard about that from where you sit.
It sounds like maybe if I'm hearing the right thing, is they're talking about losses, power system losses. So like when you generate power, right? We generate 3-phase power, ABC phase, and you have a sine wave. And then if you have those 3 overlap, right, it kind of fills the gaps. So it I'm explaining this kind of real basic, but kind of makes this level line, this median or mean line, right, that it follows. But when then you have loads, so houses or commercial buildings or whatever, they take that sine wave and they twist it and they drag the power down. So really, if you talk vector math, you have this triangle where you have three sides of the triangle, and the triangle changes shape based on that load pulling the power. And so you have these losses in this power system, inefficiency. I think that's probably what they're talking about, but
Yeah, that makes
Anyway.
sense.
Yeah.
No,
It's-
thank you.
the theory's cool.
Right, it's interesting, right? And just, how you can tighten it up now that, in areas where power is an issue.
David, I have a question.
Please.
Somebody mentioned earlier in the conversation that they are it's a lady, a trademark specialist or something like that, if I may.
Yeah. That's Kate.
Kate, I'd like to have Kate's contact, if I may.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
Kate, put it in the chat. She's in Orange County, somewhat near you.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Kate.
All right. Anything else before? Well, I'll share with everybody later. So we got digital health on Wednesday and biotech, WITI. We have business not as usual, safe space to talk about race, Wednesday afternoon, trust and safety, prop tech, and our global holiday party that's going to be really cool on Thursday. And then we'll be doing breakout rooms, the first one to celebrate wins, the second one to share gratitudes. The third one will be Ken Sky sharing all this really cool things you can do with Zoom for presentations. If any of you were at the conference and saw like the amazing things that he does with Zoom, that's really great. So it's all about kind of making sure you're on the top of your game in 2023. And then the last set will be, just setting goals for 2023 and putting those out there and sharing that. So thank you, Mark, for putting the link in the chat. I'm going to share this Ken Sky video real quick because it's pretty cool. And by the way, so we will have USPTO. I think the next one they will be at is in the February event. And then they will be bringing people on from here, let me just share this video. They will be bringing people on from some of the funding sources. And with that, I'm going to share the Ken Sky video on what's possible with Zoom. So anyway, kind of a fun little thing. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Zoom that can help when you're doing presentations, raising money, whatever it is you're doing. So that's on Thursday. Thanks everybody for joining. Anything before we close out? Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I had one last question. I hope we don't go over time. I just real quick, Nazanin, you patent like expert or advisor?
This is very good question. Good question. At my first patent writing experience, I worked with patent expert. To me, the best patent is written by the inventor because while writing, you kind of imagine new things and you kind of remember, oh, I should have mentioned this, I should have stated this, kind of like that. So indeed, there is a quick option by just explaining your invention, and patent experts to handle it, like patent advisor firms. They are also very professional at writing whatever you have explained. But if you have time in the guidance with the expert, it takes more time, but it results in much better patent, and you end up a lot more than your initial state of at the time that you start patent. By the end, you come up with many new ideas and new versions. So if one has time enough, I would advise them to work with the patent expert and for themselves to write as much as they can. But if they don't have time limitations, because patent has very low time limitations of handling everything in 12 months, especially when you want to apply for world patent, US patent, European Union patent and all, one single person, even though they are the inventor, it's just impossible. They have to work with professional patent advisor, consultancy experts, and let them handle at the best possible way.
Thank you. Thank you. And have you?
Thanks.
Oh,
And
sorry.
we gotta
Please take
shut,
my
Okay.
contact.
we gotta
You
shut.
can-
Yeah,
the-
yeah. Well, okay. Okay, we'll
I'll
talk.
connect you guys. Have a good
Please
one.
do,
Thank
Thanks
Dave.
very much.
Hello,
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right.